welcome to Comics with Dan. We're going to be reviewing Hello Darkness number 2. Apparently there was a mix-up with the solicit because there's no James Tynion IV story and there's no Andy Lanning story here. I guess those are coming in issue number 3. It's a little unclear as to what happened with that. The original solicit definitely showed those two stories in the book, but any updated solicit that I can find does not have them. It's a little confusing because I don't know that every site out there updated their solicits. I've been posting about how there's no Tynion story, there's no Lanning story, because I think with an anthology like this, it's really important to make sure it's very clear which stories are going to be in the book, because some people will buy some issues and some people will buy other issues. And in fact, one person I saw online said that I gave this information to, it said, well, okay, thanks, I'm only buying the ones with the Something is Killing the Children story in it, which is good because they would have bought this thinking that it had the story in it, but it doesn't. Overall, despite that sort of surprising bit where I was expecting that story, this was another pretty good installment of the anthology, I thought. The focus here is on cartoonists, which I think is a really cool idea. With the exception of the Garth Ennis story, each of these stories in the anthology has a single cartoonist working on the writing and the illustrating for each one. I think that's a cool approach, and I think it gives the book a different feel than the first issue for sure. This story felt like stereotypical creepy clown to me. I don't have this big fear of clowns like I know some people do, but then I realized I don't think I've ever seen a comic with a creepy clown in it, so I guess it can't be that stereotypical. It wasn't too bad. I did really like the art. I thought that was good. The clown was definitely enough to give you nightmares, and like I said, I don't have this overwhelming fear of clowns, but it could definitely start from this story. The black and white art was a cool style. I'm a big sucker for good black and white art, but the story it didn't grab me a ton. This was the best story in the issue. Between the art and a sweet battle between a werewolf and vampire bat, this was such a classic horror story, and I loved it. Detailed pencils, gorgeous matte colors, an all-around awesome story. I really wish there was more I could say about this, but it wasn't very long. It didn't have extremely detailed plot. It was just really cool art with some retro-looking colors, and it was fun to read. I got to read a digital review copy of this, but I would love to see this in print. I think that the art style would just look so good on paper. Wes Craig is the writer and artist for Image series Kaya, of which I really enjoyed Volume 1. He's also playing a part in the DC All-In initiative, so it's good to see him all over the place lately. This story was about a cult that kidnapped leaders of corporations, and they do what cults do. I get the political take that Craig is going for here. All corporations are evil, capitalist society is evil, and all that. My personal opinion, I think, differs from his, and when the story's so heavy-handed in that direction, it makes it a little bit harder to enjoy the story. I can enjoy a story with a take that I don't agree with, but it needs to be really well thought out and argued. I can enjoy a story that has a differing opinion, but I want to be convinced rather than just having the writer make the assumption that I already agree. Now, to be fair, perhaps that wasn't what it was meant to be. It is a few pages in an anthology book, so I can't necessarily blame Craig for not doing a deep dive, right? You only have so many pages that you can work with, so, you might not be able to, bolster that argument, put it out there. So that's, in favor of Craig's work here. I'm certain that he could put together a really compelling argument for his side on this, especially considering some of the anti-establishment themes that I've seen in Kaya. That being said, I think I had a hard time getting into the story for those reasons. I can imagine that someone that's already agreeable to this opinion enjoying it more. On a more positive note, the story was definitely very creepy, and Craig's art was extremely cool, as it always is. it was recognizable from what I read in Kaya, and he goes way darker on the colors here and crafts just some really unsettling scenes. These were funny last month, but they were really funny this month. I hope that Hack keeps contributing to this. I'm enjoying these little one-panel bits. If I had to describe them, it would be like Family Circus, but not appropriate to publish in a newspaper. I love it. Starting with the positives was the art. Becky Cloonan and Tamara Bonvillain are a nice combo. I like the style from both of them, but the story didn't allow for a ton of variety from them. Of the 14 pages, there was maybe 2 where the characters weren't just standing or sitting around and talking. Cloonan might be one of the very best artists out there at getting expressions on characters' faces. I thought that the characters' faces in this were just, so emotion-filled and expressive, and it was really well done on her part. That all being said, Ennis is trying to make you feel sorry for these characters, but for the most part, I just see characters all moaning about how bad their situation is and how they can't do anything about it. There's no urgency to take action, but a lot of discussion on how inaction is all they can do. I can appreciate wanting to make the situation look bleak because it does seem like the situation is bleak, but the focus on these weak characters is not the way to do that. It would be infinitely more meaningful if they were to discuss the roadblocks and how to overcome it rather than moping. The obvious exception being Nikki, who's from London, and which has just been wiped off the map along with her family. She has a different set of circumstances, so she gets a pass here. The most annoying of all is David saying, "I'm going to write a book," and it's like, are you kidding me, man? Like. Your pregnant wife or girlfriend or whoever she is just lost her entire family. The world's in shambles. And you're sitting here thinking, better write a book on my experience. The real horror in this story is how awful these characters are. On top of that, it's alluded to what's happening, but it's not very descriptive. It's clear that London and St. Petersburg have been bombed, presumably by nuclear bombs, given the podcast that David listens to during the issue. But apart from that, all conversations on what is going on is vague and done one-sided. One place I'll give credit is that perhaps Ennis is having all conversations between the friends take place sort of over text and being more segmented to represent the isolation that happens in these times of tragedy. But my biggest hope is that Ennis follows this up with the other thing that happens when there's great tragedy, and that's people coming together. I really hope that that's what he does. I realize that this is a horror anthology, so that's probably not likely. But I hate these characters so much, and I think that they're all awful, and I have to read more. I need to know what happens to them, but they suck. Hello Darkness number 2. It hit shelves on August 28th. It's from Boom Studios. Another fun installment of the anthology, especially if you're looking to hit up some work from solo cartoonists. Make sure you like the video. Make sure that you subscribe